there's any questions or comments on the minutes, if not approval.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Second, all right, all in favor.
Aye.
All right, we'll move to new business, Nicole Bell, Wiggle Worms.
Touch the little
Thank-
reds. Yep, perfect.
Hi. We're so thankful for you guys allowing us to have a couple events over there at Greg Park. We had our paint and plant and our kite day, which were really nice. We got to meet some people and have fun with all the kiddos. This last time, we had a little bit of some issues. We had a lot of displaced people in our area, not really wanting to leave. And then there was a group who was some political party, and they were tie-dyeing t-shirts and stuff. And I told them that we had the space and that there was already some tables that were outside when we arrived if they wanted to use those, but they still were in our area. And so I had messaged Tammy just letting her know. Our main concern, however, was if the displaced people or the candidate, whatever their party was, had done anything to your guys' facility. We didn't want to be held accountable because we're very gracious for the opportunity to use your guys' facility. So we just wanted to bring that to your attention. She told me to bring it up.
If
But-
something happens like that again, you have a couple phone numbers on the paper you sign, don't hesitate to call. It's either myself or Scott will be out there to make
Okay.
sure they'll leave.
Okay, thank you. But I'm here today to see if we could run some other ideas by you guys. So I just got back from Missouri. I didn't have time to make you guys a prop or anything, but our first idea is to see if you guys would let us utilize half of the track, not the track part that goes around the court over there, the pickleball, but the other half. The idea is to make paper mache like bananas and what are they, like little turtle shells and stuff from Mario Kart, and invite individuals to bring their own RC cars to race around the track, kind of like Mario Kart style, for a low fee to fundraise our facility. And then the other one was oh, I forgot about the Bowser Castle. They also wanted to do a cardboard Bowser Castle in the middle of it. The kids can like go in and like draw with crayons or something like that, for that idea. And then the other one was also utilizing that part of the track, but doing more like a bubble fair in the middle area there.
So you're talking about shedding the walking track down to do this stuff? Is that the part you're talking about, the track? That's what
Yeah,
you're
just
talking
that one half for a few hours to do the RC cars.
When is this event?
We don't have a date.
Okay.
We were just hoping to run the idea by you guys.
The problem is that track is utilized so much, it'd be hard to shut it down.
Is that something we could do at the new bike track?
I mean, we have dirt out there for the bike track. I mean, that's very possible out there.
Yeah? We'd be
Yeah, that's
open
at
to that.
Chicago Park.
I
Okay.
think you were here at that last meeting when he talked about that.
I don't
The
think
bike track, the like balance bike track that we're doing at Chicago Park.
I've seen posts on
Okay,
Facebook, but I don't
yeah.
think I was here for the meeting.
Okay.
If you could go out on Chicago Park, I mean, and plus we're still working on getting the grass, to kill the grass around the back. What the problem is though, by then, some of that dirt track will be gone because you're gonna have the ramp.
Well, they could maybe utilize the, concrete actual track for
Yeah.
half a day for this. Potentially, I think is what she's kind of hinting at
At
as
the
the other
bike.
option.
At the bike track.
At the bike track,
Yeah.
using part of the actual track once it's completed for
Yeah.
this event.
Right,
Right.
right.
Would the, like, where the parking lot for Rainbow Beach is, would like a portion of that suffice?
I'm not sure, cause the way they made it sound was, the way we had described it was that the cars would actually follow the track and then
Yeah.
place these like around the track, so I'm not sure if they were just free roaming, if there'd be more crashing than like following a course.
Well, the thing is, we could set up cones
Yeah?
for a
Okay.
course. I can get cones from the state highway.
I mean, that area I think would be a lot easier
Easier?
to give access to.
And
than the
especially if you do it after the pool's closed.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It
We'd be
closes.
open to
Or in the
that.
morning before it's open.
Yeah. Well, Well, if you're not planning on doing it before August, 4th, that's the last day of the pool,
Yeah.
Okay.
so.
And it'd probably be a lot easier to utilize and also wouldn't have so much backlash of shutting down the walking trail.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, yeah.
But I think either option, if you look at
Yeah.
Chicago Park, and I think that could work as
When-
well, or if the Rainbow Beach parking lot would work with cones of some nature of some kind.
Second or third week of
You
July,
know, I think we
Oh,
can try
okay.
to
yeah.
work with you as much as possible, because I think we all, like what you're doing, so.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So he said that the bike track is supposed to be finished second or third week
Yep,
of July.
July.
Okay.
And that will be all concrete? Is that, no.
No, it's dirt. It's like a hard plastic inside course,
Okay,
and then the outside's got a dirt. And then you
Okay.
got like a turn, they're making it.
okay.
And then when do you guys close for the fall?
For the pool?
I-
Or,
I don't know, like more around winter time. I was trying to like rent out the shelter, and they said that they didn't do that till like April. So I didn't know like what time you guys decide to not do those kind of things.
Well, the only thing we really don't rent is the enclosed because there's no heat in there and we winterize
Oh, okay.
it, so.
Okay. Because we were also thinking maybe closer to like fall time, doing like a Harry Potter theme get together to make like wands, little globes, and like bracelets for the house that you're sorted in and stuff like that.
Yeah, like one of the outhouses or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think those ever close, do they?
No,
The outhouses.
the
Not yet.
bathrooms are open all year long.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So just
Awesome.
whenever you want those, I believe.
Okay. Well, we'll be in touch. I'm so
Okay.
excited.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
great, thank you.
Thank you.
Cecil Penland with, Rondo Associates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Cecil Dillon with Rundle Hartsberger Associates. I'm a landscape architect and partner there. And with me this evening, or this afternoon, I have Dan Liggett, who's also a partner at REA, and Travis Johnson, who's a designer with REA. We're excited to be here with you this evening. We were commissioned by the city a few months ago to start the process of looking at a new playground design for Great Park. And so we've done some initial inventory and analysis, and we've generated some additional concepts. So we've got a short presentation. We're gonna brief front end of this so that we can get some concept ideas, but we wanted to talk through kind of where we've been and what we've come up with so far and where we go from here. So, with that, like I mentioned, we started with an initial inventory of the park just to better understand it, kind of what's going on, how's it used, how people move through the park, whether they're in their car or on foot, understand the amenities of the park, kind of, we know there's a ton of trees, where are the areas in the park that we can locate a playground without having a huge impact on the beautiful trees that are already there. So the first page in the presentation is really just an inventory of what's out there to help inform us of opportunities within the park. Next, one of the initial things we wanted to look at is understanding that inventory and the analysis of the trees and the soils, the low points, was what makes sense in terms of a location for a new playground. When we started this conversation, we talked about it could be in place of an existing playground, it could be in a new location, but again, trying to balance all those things that make a playground successful. And so what we zeroed in on was this area kind of in the heart of the park near the existing historic shelter there. And that's for a couple of reasons, well, multiple reasons really. One, it's close to the road, which is where families are gonna park when we think about playgrounds and where they're gonna be most successful. It's where parents can have easy access to bathrooms, easy into the park where it's really hard to get to. There's no bathrooms, there's no shade. It's just not comfortable. That's not where people want to be with their young kids. So we kind of zeroed in on this area near the existing shelter. There's also a relatively large clearing in this area that could accommodate a new playground. There's a few small trees that have been recently planted in the last few years that we think can be relocated. But really, we think we can work in a design here without having an impact on any of the mature existing trees that we really hate to lose.
And some of them trees that's in that picture are gone too.
Yeah, well, and there is one tree here, I think it's an ash tree that looks like it's about half dead.
Right.
That these concepts do show removal of. So the next slide in here is just some existing condition photos, ground level view area that we're thinking about. Again, just to the north of that existing shelter, you've got a large lawn area there. It's also in kind of the middle of the walking paths, again, just thinking about convenient access for parents and children, and also safe. It's got a safe distance from the road. It's still close to the restrooms, but close enough you don't have to worry about a kid darting off into the middle of the road and being struck by a vehicle or something else. So, advance on to the next slide. One of the things that we had heard early on was there was a precedent, Switchyard Park, if you guys have ever been there in Bloomington, Indiana. It's kind of a unique playscape that we worked on a few years ago, but it's not your traditional playground. It's got climbing structures and it's got features, but it doesn't have like one large just element within it. So it's a combination of topography, with basically earth form and pour-to-place rubber and artificial turf. And basically we use that to create rooms. And as Dan's pulled up here, when we talk about what makes it unique and what makes it successful, it's the incorporation of topography and vegetation and scale. So those are the three things that we're trying to think about in order to create a new unique playground within here. So we've got some examples of what we mean by that on the following slides here. Topography, again, it's the incorporation of earth form into the playground. And when you do that, it allows opportunities for creating climbing hills, climbing stones, hillside slides, unique features that you may not have in other parks here in Vincennes. And these are just some precedent images from parks that we've worked on and parks that are in other locations across the country. Vegetation and shade. So that it's attractive to be in, so that it's cooler to be in, temperature-wise, and you can appreciate that today if you've been outside much. But it's just creating a unique environment that is attractive to people. It's natural, it's inviting, and it kind of fits within the context of the park, because the park is a lot of natural beauty as it is. And then lastly, scale. So when we talk about scale, we're talking about what makes it successful for different age groups. So usually when we talk about, there we go. So when we talk about scale, we're talking about what makes it attractive for a different age group. So when we talk about play, usually it's divided into 2 to 5, 5 to 12, and 12 and above. So in your younger age groups, kids tend to like smaller play elements. They're smaller people. You know, they tend to like smaller places, smaller play elements, features that they're comfortable being in and around. Also, when we talk about playground safety standards, they're slightly different for 2 to 5 year olds versus 5 to 12 year olds, and there's some suggestions for how you separate the two zones. So you can see here just some examples of like these small creatures that young kids are comfortable climbing on. And then you get into things like these huge nets, which those small kids, the more adventurous small kids will get on, but you see much more often the 5 to 12 year olds climbing up on those climbing features. So these are just some of the precedents that we're thinking about as we begin to look at the design. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Dan and Travis to talk through the initial concepts.
Thank you, Cecil. So, you have some more business to get to, right? So we'll try to keep it brief with some of these concepts so you have time to ask questions. Concept one, if you go ahead and flip over to the next slide. Cecil pointed out it's in the location just north of the existing shelter. This concept has been called earth forms. Just think of what natural earth forms or features that you've seen. That was the inspiration behind some of the designs and the aspects that you'll see in it. Before we move to the next slide though, what's really important and exciting about this one is it's positioned purposefully to potentially be part of greater improvements with the band shell. So if you were trying to justify improvements to the band shell, you know, I found some articles about fundraising for that effort. You could imagine that if those improvements were made, there could be maybe a connection across the roadway, or there could be a relationship between the two. So this playground's just not floating or is not related to the features in the park. So that was one of the ideas with this particular concept. It doesn't mean it happens in phase one. It might happen 5 or 10 years from now. But the idea is that they celebrate one another. If you go ahead and go to the next slide. So, there we go. Is it any issue on your end? No, it is. Is everything clear there? Okay. On this concept, there's 4 main features that kind of created the playground design: the valley, the hill, the gorge, and the forest. So those are the earth forms, if you will, that make up the concept of this particular playground design. And I'll try to give a high-level overview on this particular slide, and then as we flip through each perspective, you'll probably get a little better idea of what those look like. So next to the valley is a new proposed shelter for this, in this concept. That idea came out of, we didn't want to feel like people wanted to take over the shelter, especially if someone else is renting it. You can imagine if someone has a birthday party on the inside, they're trying to use the picnic tables outside, that they would have the right to that space. But we still needed shade, as Cecil mentioned, is one of the key aspects of the playground. So we've proposed a new shelter. Again, that new shelter, you can imagine as a parent sitting there and maybe listening to the music in the bandstand in the future, you could kind of see that relationship work. But immediately to the right is the valley. And the valley is just what it sounds like. It's just a depression in the ground that is 4 or 5 feet deep. You can imagine a rope bridge going across. We want to encourage kids to feel like they might fall. Obviously, it would be fall rated and safe. But I'm also picturing what it would be. It'd be enjoyable, I think, as a parent or someone looking after kids to see them understand risk and determine if they actually want to partake in that. I think when you look at a lot of playgrounds today, risk has completely been removed from the design, and not that we want to make it unsafe, but we want to give kids an opportunity to challenge themselves or not. So that's one of the aspects of the valley. There's also hammocks or other features or rope pulls that you could pull yourself up. Of course, there's steps to get down for the adults who wouldn't just run down the valley slope there. To the right of it is the hill, so obviously this is just the opposite of the valley. It's the high point on site. And with that high point, we can put a lot of slides in, we can put more rope pulls. It's also the point in which you could stand on the playground and kind of see everything as a kid. It'd be very easy, and it's completely accessible and inclusive to get to the top of the hill. You can see there's a sidewalk that's that gray color along the top that would allow you to access the hill if you had a mobility issue, both as a child or even as maybe if grandma's taking their grandkids to the playground. And because we've designed the hill, next to it is the gorge. And what I really like about the gorge, the inspiration on this is if you're driving, it feels like it's in Kentucky, but you're on the interstate in some areas and you can see where they've blasted the rock out on either side. And sometimes in winter or even in the spring, you can like see water come out of that rock, but that rock is, just natural limestone typically. And I always found it gorgeous, but in this location is where the gorge is. So we've created scale in this area to be very tight. The idea here too is we could put maybe misters in that wall. And I think we talked about maybe misters at our kickoff meeting, but it could be that water that's coming out of the wall, but it's also just a nice way to cool off if you're in the playground. This is also the connection point between the 5 and 12, as Cecil mentioned, on the top side, and the 2 to 5 on the lower side. So that's where the kids' location is, the younger kids on the 2 to 5. And the last feature I'll talk about on this page is the forest. Again, this is a very affordable option to create shade. You could put hammocks up. There could be opportunities to program this more than just trees. But you could imagine laying out your blanket here if you're mom or dad and sitting in the shade while you watch the kids play around in the playground. So I think we've got a few perspectives of each one of these I'll be repeating myself a little bit, but I'll try to point out some of the highlights of those perspectives. So this is looking just over the shelter. We're looking over the playground, over that shelter. You can see the rope bridge there in the foreground going over the valley and maybe a hammock. That rope bridge is really interesting. It's just a big coconut fiber rope. I mean, it must be like, I don't know, 12 inches in diameter. It's not like a piece of twine by any means. So you can imagine the adventure over the valley, or just even walking or running down into the valley. We want kids to burn that energy using the topography. It also builds gross motor skill with these large landforms as they're enjoying it. And then also in this image is what the plan previously called the Jungle Dome. If you can point to that, Cecil, and I hope that shows up on your monitor here. That's this particular piece here. We can show you some photos of that. If you go to the next slide, Cecil. This is a view through the forest, and you'll have to kind of, we could always add or subtract trees to this, but you can imagine the shade in this area with some small benches or seats that put you more at an eye level of the playground. So you can see the rope bridge on the left there, and some of the Jungle Dome just behind it, if you go to the next image. So here's some photos that are inspiration that show up on this particular perspective. You can see the size of the coconut rope. You can see the slides there on the top right. Those would be integrated into the earth berms here. A universal carousel, again, any of the equipment, we would try to, if they can't get on top, you want to give kids an opportunity to be involved at least at the ground plane. The universal carousel does a great job of that. And then when we talk about the rope pulls up the hill, it's really just as simple as this picture that you see here, just kids pulling themselves up the hill. So next slide, Cecil. This is the valley. I've spoken to it a little bit, but you could imagine, and it doesn't have to be the pieces that we've proposed here, but you could see if we had something like a hammock, you could imagine kids like trying to crawl across the hammock as it swings. It reminds me of Jacob's Ladder at the fair. You pay like $20 and no one can climb it. This one's free for kids, so they would hopefully be able to climb across that. You can see the Jungle Dome there. What's really interesting about this is I was looking for equipment equipment can get very expensive, as you guys all probably know, but this one, it still provides verticality. Kids can actually climb on top of those angled cross beams and stand there and hold on to the rope. In fact, if you go to the next slide, Cecil, that photo that's that top image, and you can kind of see a little kid there standing on top of that particular piece of equipment. It provides verticality without having to pay for the vertical like towers that you see in some magazines. And then you can see the hammock and another photo of the rope bridge there as we talk a little bit about the valley. I think the next image is the base of the hill. So this is on the other side of the hill. This is the 5 to 12, or the 2 to 5. We've separated the play area. You can see the hill there where kids could be up on top, sliding down, have great viewpoints, and you can see the age-appropriate equipment. Right now, we have something called the Kids Jungle Dome, which is this piece here, and we have those two little things off to the left are just the spinner bowls or the springers that you see. It's always amazing how much room you have to have for fall-rated equipment. So it looks like just a small little spinner bowl, but it will take up, usually quite a bit of space, like 12 feet in diameter roughly. In this image, you can also see the gorge kind of take place with the wall there and the bridge going over the top of it. And then I think the last image we have, there's some photos of the swings and the springers, which I think you guys can probably picture.
I think the other thing might be worth noting too is, as Dan mentioned, there's the accessible path across the gorge, and on one side of the berm, you're up 6 feet, kind of for that larger age group, 5 to 12, and there's actually an accessible path around the top of the berm that brings you down to 4 feet elevation, which is going to be a little bit more comfortable.
So the smaller kids in this view would have a little bit shorter of a slide that's maybe not as intimidating. That's a good point, Cecil. I think this next image is on top of we have this little bridge that connects you from the top of this accessible sidewalk, which you can see here. And then you can see the slides that connect into the top of the berm. You can see the gorge down below you to the left, and then you can see the valley beyond, next to the shelter. So I think what's the photos in this one, Cecil, I forget. Oh yeah, the slides, and then there's the mist. This really wouldn't take any particular equipment. We could just literally run a water line and have it stub out and put like a mister on it that a greenhouse would put on for plants. It really wouldn't be any more complicated. In fact, you have one that sits immediately west of the existing shelter on the other side of the road. I think it's green.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically that, except we're not paying for the fixture. We're just running the water to a mist line. Probably putting some valves on it, obviously, to winterize it, but, so I think that completes, is that the last slide? I think that completes the concept one. Do we want to stop and have questions, or I can, if there's any feedback immediately before we keep
I
going?
think the only thing I want you, I know you're having it surveyed right now, cause I've been working with those people.
Okay.
But just the drainage.
Yeah.
You're talking about these valleys and gorges and.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Drainage out there is not, there's just not that much drainage.
John's the city engineer?
Yeah, John's correct.
We spoke to John a little bit here. I think we had our kickoff meeting, and we brought that question up to him. And I said, where can we take stormwater? And he inferred it would be to the north, across Niblack, and I'm forgetting the name of the stream.
Kelso Creek.
That's it,
Yeah.
that's it.
That's one opportunity.
Yeah, and we did find some structures actually on the south side of that roadway. Cecil and I went out and looked, but you're exactly right. You have to have drainage when you start talking about landform.
Yeah. There is some drainage over by the Franklin School and the band shell.
Yep.
To there, there's some there, and the next is down by Rainbow Beach, that direction out the back.
Okay, so those could be other options too. That was another reason we like this location, is if we put it, say, further south, it was just further away from those. We were thinking to the north, but I think your point's still valid. It would be longer connections for storm laterals.
I'm working with
get
Brian
there.
Riesenbach on all those areas you guys are talking about. He's surveying that, and his crew. They changed their name, I can't remember what.
Schneider.
Yeah, that's it,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's who John
So,
said, yeah.
I've already been, I met with him
Cool,
yesterday or day before, or Friday, I can't remember, but
good, that's good to hear.
we're working on where all the drainage is in there for this.
Yep, that's gonna have to be a part, there's no doubt about it. Anytime you dig or put a hill out there, water's gonna
Yeah.
sheet flow somewhere.
Right.
Especially with the port in place and the safety surfacing, it won't be like grass. It'll accumulate. So I think I'll let Travis run through concept 2.
Our second concept is called Legends of Vincennes, so we're connecting to the rich history that Vincennes has with America and its history as a trading post, its several forms as different forts over the years, as well as its native ecology. Get to the next one. Zooming in on the plan rendering here, you can see the different zones of this concept. The Wabash Bottomlands, that's our 2 to 5 play area, themed after the ecoregion that surrounds the Wabash River. The battlements is in the center, following the sloping path up, is modeled after some of several early American forts, namely Fort Ticonderoga stone battlements that they have out in New York. And then those turf slopes go up there to provide interesting climbing opportunities. Continuing up the slope, we have what we're calling Old Fort Vincennes, modeled after the 1730s fur trading post, as well as Fort Saxville. That was completed much later in the 1780s, I believe. Following that path back down, you have the Cascades, which is a series of embankment slides, climbing boulders, and mulch trails that lead back into a small formalized lawn and some important place in between to provide some good running space. We can,
Travis, you might mention, so on the battlements, we're thinking we're about how high in elevation?
oh, yes. So you start obviously in the Wabash Bottomlands at 0 feet, the bottom. By the time you reach that first embankment slide, you're a couple feet in the air, and then the slide steps up with a transfer point to get some good speed. As you climb up to the top of the battlements, we're about 4 feet high off the ground, give or take. And then by the time you reach the peak of the hill at Old Fort Vincennes, we're about 8 feet up from where we started. So you got a lot of good grade change, which provides plenty of fun opportunities to slide and climb. Thank you for reminding me. So here you can see a bird's eye view of the whole playground and how all those different elements connect from river to fort, showcasing that whole natural to colonial history that Vincennes is very notable for. We can start zooming in on the Wabash Bottomlands, where we shrink everybody down to the size of a little critter, a bug, a slug, what have you. That's for the 2 to 5. In the center, you see a little wonky little guy. That is the Eastern Newt. He is a play sculpture that is pretty popular nowadays in several playgrounds that kids can, either get ate by as a little bug or they can climb up and around. You see the different poles representing the grasses along the shores of the Wabash. Plenty of seats for the parents, and it's nestled safely behind the ramp, so that way it's well contained and have good sight lines for parents to watch their kids. We're gonna pan over to the right and, oh, never mind. Here's those equipments that we're using here in this picture. So you can see a lizard play sculpture, so a newt wouldn't be too dissimilar from that. Probably scaled down better to suit the 2 to 5 age range, an embankment slide, the climbing poles that you see there in the top, and then the 2 springers modeled after different insects and slugs. Moving over to the right, you can see the turf embankments and the stone battlements that form the base of the fort. And over to the right is a depression in the ground, so you can have a really interesting opportunity to go up and over or down and under this wooden climbing sculpture. Climbing up those ropes with some wooden poles and some climbing holds, you get to the top of the battlements, and we'll show those equipment on the next slide. So it's several different equipment we've used over the years, but once you get to the top, you can see a great view of the different little areas you've passed so far, and a peek at Old Fort Vincennes in the background. You got different play opportunities up there. You could jump down, slide down, climb all around it. Continuing the path that way, you get to Old Fort Vincennes, where we have our accessible merry-go-round structure, some berms, some wooden poles to kind of create the walls of the fort, as well as a central tower to, again, harken back to Old Fort Vincennes. If you go to the next slide, you can see some of the inspiration we've had for that. They have several structures out nowadays, and we can very much, use something else. But those stacked cubes could be very easily modified and decorated, as you will, to resemble an old colonial fort. You see the notched poles that we used earlier now being able to form some of the walls of the fort instead of the grasses, as well as some other climbing opportunities as well. And now as we go back down, we get into the Rocky Cascades. There's several different embankment slides and climbing opportunities with these mulch paths that intersect in between different plant beds, and plenty of trees for shade and stabilization. So I believe that's the end of that one, but you climbed all the way up and back down 8 feet over the course of this meeting. Can't say that too often, but I believe we're going to the costs now overall.
Yeah, well, before we do you guys have any questions, comments?
Yes, I forgot to ask that.
About either of the concepts we presented so far?
I think it's great.
I really like that one.
Well, then on to the part nobody likes to talk about.
Nobody's favorite.
Which is fine. So, what we've done is, we've really started, this is concept this assumes board in place rubber, artificial turf is all fall rated. We've done other playgrounds where we've been selective in where we target the board in place rubber, and so other areas might become engineered wood fiber mulch, which is significantly less expensive. It's also more maintenance over time. But there are ways to help bring the costs down. So hopefully I haven't seen anybody fall out of their chair yet or run me out of the room yet. So, but that's that's what we have to share today. So we want to hear your thoughts, your questions, concerns, comments, and then kind of what our next steps would be to take all of the feedback we get from you, to go back and create a refined concept that takes either aspects of each of these you like, or you may say we don't like either one, and we need to rethink it. But our next step is to basically refine a concept based on the feedback we get from you, which will allow us to narrow in on the cost. And ideally, all of that comes together at about the same time that the survey is complete, and so the timing starts to work out hopefully where, once we have a preferred design, we can then kind of rectify that to a survey, and then you're in a good position to move forward from there.
Really like how the second design incorporates kind of some historical aspects of the town. I think that's a nice little touch that doesn't cost any extra. I don't know, I like both of them a lot.
I like
I
that.
know.
Yeah,
It's hard to complain about either.
I agree with both of you, this
Yeah.
second one.
the second one is really cool.
I really like that old fort, all that was, and I think that's neat.
The
Battlements,
the battlements,
yeah.
that, yeah.
The old board.
I did like the gorge and everything on the
Yeah,
first one.
I did too, yeah, me too.
Yeah, as Travis and Dan alluded to as well, like the sky's kind of looking at some of those forward structures too. I mean, I think we've got a detailed cost estimate that we'll do with you guys to show how we arrived at these numbers, but that assumes like a $300,000 play structure where that forward is. I mean, that would be like the premier
Yeah,
climbing element in the park. You know,
Really like
there are other options. for
Right.
what that can be used for.
We had two choices. We had two. And the price scared me a little bit. So we backed it down to one vertical.
One tall one instead of two.
yeah.
Scared me a little.
I really like the ropes though. I think that adds something
Yeah.
you don't see other places.
I know the other thing I was gonna mention too is, I know maintenance is an issue or a concern long term. A lot of the renderings show elements with wooden poles, those can be switched out with metal poles. I think we talked about that in one of the kickoff meetings, so there are options for materials. I think what the goal will be is to make sure everything's consistent going forward, like we have a consistent color palette, we have a consistent material palette. But we want you to know that we're sensitive to maintenance, we know that they're building something that we can take
Anything
care
else
of.
you want? That looks good.
I've noticed, VU at their, area there, they have swings with, I have problems with adults sitting in kids' swings. So they have a swing down there, they have a swing hooked to a kid's swing. I think that would be a great,
We, Switchyard Park has swings for adults. that
Yeah.
Don't matter about
People
that.
can sit in while
Yeah.
they watch
That
the
kind of
kids. I
Brings the
don't
book.
think we have any adult swings in Wisconsin, but, or porch swings, okay, we took them out because of cost. But those could be added back in. There's also, I think, Switchyard has a generational swing, or they call it a face me swing sometimes.
Yeah.
Where you have a child on one side.
I think
Yeah,
that's what he's
yeah.
talking about, yeah.
So, those are pretty easy additions. On the first concept, you'll notice the swings, we kind of held those to the side. Swings have a huge play zone.
Yeah.
Massive. So we were,
Kids, they scare me to death around swings because they never see.
No,
right.
You know, they see the kid up here and then they run and pull you back down.
right, and then they get kicked in the
I like
face.
locating them like on the outside of the playgrounds
Yeah.
where it's
Oh, yeah.
less likely that someone's running behind you
all right.
Right,
when you're swinging. And how much of this is handicap accessible?
the idea would be everything is accessible. So like even those slides, they have, well, I should say, at least half of the slides are shown as accessible because basically they have to be a transfer height. So that means the slide where you
you like better?
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Does the second one have swings and the shaded part around it as a, like a sidewalk?
Can you say that again, sorry? Not anymore. But we could have a second. You see that little spot in between the shelter and the existing trail where that big old tree is?
Yeah,
We have them in there.
okay.
So we could put them back. Or
Well,
put
they
them
take
somewhere
up a
else.
large use, they're,
But that's
as you
fine.
can imagine, they're more affordable than other pieces, so they're, we can easily integrate them.
Yeah.
You could also, although it's a maintenance issue, for swings, you could use engineered wood fiber. Although, you know what kids do, they walk, they drag their feet, and then
Right.
under the swing is kind of gone.
Where-
Yeah.
for a while. But because the fall height is somewhat more predictable, of course, you're gonna have a kid try to jump height, but
Right.
it's not falling out of the tower.
Right.
A little more predictable.
It would be really cool in this concept at these high points to have some porch style swings.
Mm-hmm.
Where a person, you can see where Travis says benches here and here. You can imagine those being porch style swings and you're sitting at the high point kind of swinging, looking out over the playground.
That would be really cool. I really like that one. Okay.
But it takes a lot of work, you gotta educate the public, you know, for it.
I truly think the public would go for something like that.
Especially with like people our age, with our kids being young and,
Yeah, there's always commentary about not enough things to do with, young kids.
Would it be helpful if we, let's say we pick a concept, if we try to, is there a number that you feel comfortable doing, you know, in the event that a referendum fails? And then, yeah, but we could do, maybe I like what I'm suggesting, if you have that, not that you need to know today, but you have that number in your mind, we know we can do that much. And then if the referendum is successful, or if you wanna go down that route, we can add X to it as a possibility.
Do we have a grant to cover part of this?
No, we
We've
don't.
got 100,000 from the foundation, and there's 200,000 in the budget
Okay.
that we can still get, and we'll add for next year's budget, but we can't add.
can't have 3.3 million? Darn. I really like that one. I mean, I was excited about this first one, but then I saw that one.
So, and the only thing I'll say, when it comes to the referendum, is the testament where we go, do it all, just like we do, everybody votes for it.
Yeah.
And we cut that to what, well, we think this one, we could put in the limits, that's what we're saying. But we didn't, because we were
I'm glad we didn't. I'm glad we didn't.
do it, and just do it like that.
Yeah.
I did like that.
Yeah.
I feel like making the material as like lasting as possible.
That's why they were doing it.
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't cut corners there.
Less maintenance.
Yeah. And this will help you guys with mowing too.
Oh, well, yeah.
But then you're gonna have all this maintenance.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
I'd rather have all that maintenance.
So where we go from here, Mayor, on, you wanna do what you was just talking about?
Decide exactly what we want.
Yeah, if you guys need some time, I mean, we can kind of work at your pace.
Yeah, I don't think it's like we get that on the ballot this weekend, it's probably not like this.
The other thing we do, which helps with this discussion, is once you guys provide us some direction and we move towards a final
this is what we wanna look for.
Yeah.
The big one?
And then look at the big one, the 3 million one, and see what we can do with grants and in kind.
Popcorn, we're selling popcorn.
You better sell a lot.
And you're not gonna get, I mean, honest, but you go with service organizations and
Yeah.
The other thing we've seen other communities do is naming rights. I don't know if you have any community organizations or corporations that might say, hey, love to put my name on this.
Oh, yeah,
go after those, solar companies that are.
there you go.
Well, I know where I can get 10,000. Put the moose on there.
Yeah, the moose would do something.
I'm sure the hospital would do something.
Maybe the Hetty
Well,
playground.
Kiwanis and all those groups are always doing something
Rotary.
for us, I'm sure they would all work in on this.
And we can ask to do foundations.
Yeah.
Well, I think if this is the one that you guys are favoring, we can try to look at what it would look, like some of the things we're talking about, if we were to tighten it up a little bit, if you guys are open to maybe removing two of the battlements and playing up the one central battlement, we could look at some things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And try to shave some dollars off of this one. I'm confident we can get it under 3. I can't say too much beyond that at this point.
right.
And the swings you were talking about, you're talking about like the metal horse.
Yeah.
If we cut those out, we could probably get food spots for those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be something instead of memorial benches, maybe
Benches.
people can start doing those
Swings.
in place.
Yeah.
I agree, yes.
What they cost now, but the ones on like the river walk, we put in, I think they cost 15.
Somewhere like that.
And we've talked about doing picnic tables instead of benches too. That might not be terrible. Okay.
Is there anything you would like to see different or?
I mean, the swing's gonna actually be an afterthought later on too,
Yeah.
you know, so we could do that. You know, just know where the opportunity is to do that.
Yeah.
And then,
No, well, I don't even have pricing back. It would be in excess of 500,000 for the two. Now, we have 300, so it's, I'd say, extra 200 probably.
And maybe we'll look at that. I just don't cut it short if we're gonna go back.
If you're gonna go for it,
Just go ahead and get it all.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
big.
Yeah.
yeah,
And then if we can cut back.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why, I'm glad you said that, Mayor, because that's why these visionings are important. If you only started with 50,000, you don't have the vision for what you could have. But at least now you have the vision, and we can work our way to that, whether it's through phasing or fundraising. Everyone ends up happier if they're in the phase. When you approach it that way.
oh, yeah.
The concept originally, both concepts. Had shown some improvements out here in front of the existing shelter too, just creating a more formal lawn and everything else. When this concept that you guys seem to be leaning more towards, I think when we started with all the improvements in front of the shelter, both towers and swings, we were at 4.5. So.
Okay.
I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel comfortable walking into this room. That might have been the And it, I mean, I think there's a threshold, I think there's a line you do cross there, and I think we probably did with a number like that, but, we can always, when we revise this, bring back some add-ons, and we can see how big it grows, and if we take things out, no big deal.
I know this, you don't really need like, with this.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to start doing all our life. That here,
Yeah.
and this is one part.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
People travel here for the pool.
yeah.
They might travel for that new bike.
That's right, yeah.
No, people would definitely come to, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
we drive to Evansville to go to playground down there and various parks.
And you guys, it wasn't you guys that went to Switchyard recently, it was another,
No, we've never been there.
okay, it was someone else. But they were like, oh, we're going for the weekend, we're going to Switchyard, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well,
Yeah.
maybe you won't have to pretty soon. You have a 5:30 meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Oogie. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. So we need to finish our meeting now.
So do you want us to go ahead and look at refinements to this one?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
please.
The second one.
Yes, the second one,
Yes.
yeah,
And add swings.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
I
you.
did like the bridge though on the first. That
Yeah.
was
I know, that's,
Yeah.
I did put a bridge in initially, because that is a part of some old ordinance,
Yeah.
is having bridges between some of them. So, it's going down to one,
Where could there be a bridge? Okay. Alright. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll continue with the business, or the meeting. If financial reporting, questions or comments on the financial report, if not, a motion approved.
I'll make a motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Old business, new business, JR?
Okay, we got, at the splash pad, we're having issues. Tim Wamper's coming out to put a new line in because it won't turn on by itself. He's supposed to be there today. I think he's coming tomorrow, so they'll be working. Chicago Park, we should have the bike track within the next 2 weeks, and they said it'd probably take about a week to put in. So, pickleball courts are done, at Chicago Park.
I seen that. Looks
At the pool, we've had some issues with, one of the new filter systems. They got it up and running, but they're gonna, I think they're gonna end up replacing it at the end of the year. New liners, I'm putting in, to get the activity pool and, dive well reline next year, cause both of them need it. Leicester Square, still waiting on Tom to come and line the courts. As soon as he's done, they're gonna put, the logos on the courts. And I'm looking for benches, and then it will be done. It's gotta actually be done by July 17th for the patronicity. And that's about all I have.
Any other questions or comments?